Hey everyone, welcome to our TGM Lives. We come to you guys every 2 weeks. My name is Vlad. I'm known as the Abundance Cultivator here at the Grounded Man, and I'm joined by none other than Brayden himself. Brayden, man, how are you, buddy?
Good, Vlad. Thanks for hopping on. Excited to be here. Hi, everyone. I'm Braden Stockfish, the visionary leader here at the Grounded Man and the movement that we're building here.
Awesome. Yeah, so this week, or I guess this month, we're diving into emotional health. That is one of our 6 pillars, and that's the one that we're highlighting here this month. So, I mean, maybe let's kick it off, Brayden, with like when I say emotional health, like what does that mean to you?
Hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. What does it mean to me? I think that's kind of developed over the years. So right now, what emotional health means to me is like maintaining an ability to feel and process emotions as they come
Mm,
up in my body, not to reject them or push them away, and not to like get lost in them, but to be able to maintain a healthy observation of my experience and then allowing the feelings to move through.
mhm.
Yeah, kind of keeping like a hygiene of how the emotions move through so that they're not getting stuck or they're not becoming like overwhelmingly present.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. What about you? What is it? How do you define it?
yeah. For me right now, what resonates is, especially with today's society as well, is the vulnerability piece when it comes to emotions. I find that a lot of us, myself included, I struggled with expression of emotion, and usually the emotions that kind of spit on the more extremes of the spectrum, things like hate and anger, as well as love, right? Like, how do I express those? I found that whenever I did, it was either ridiculed or it wasn't well received. And so you just kind of like bubble it inside, right? And I find that it's common for a lot of men as well to just bottle up those emotions, don't express it, but they want to be expressed. So it's finding a way to release the emotions in a healthy way. That's been huge for me over the last couple of years, is really just how can I express that, and then recognizing that it's like okay to express emotion, right? So for me, it's just that constant practice of being open to expression of it.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
love that. And what I've always said about building connection or building community is that vulnerability is an essential ingredient. You
Mm-hmm.
can't make that community soup without having vulnerability.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's a big piece of what we do in this community is
Mhm.
create space where we can open up our emotions and our experiences and have that space where it's like, oh yeah, it is actually okay to share and feel these things and to even notice the stories that come up, because I don't know about you, but I still notice, like in my relationship or in connections with other men, that there are moments when I'm feeling something or sharing something and I bring it out and there's still a story that like I'm weak because I'm experiencing life this way,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
Like I should
Mhm.
be better than this. I shouldn't be insecure about this. And so it's noticing that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I found for myself personally, emotions, like there's almost a sense of like freedom when you're able to actually learn to express. For me, the big emotion was love, right? Like feeling love. And like I was always ridiculed when I showed it, and I ended up suppressing it hard, because I wanted to avoid that. So just like you mentioned, the stories, right? Is if I express this feeling, it'll be ridiculed. It won't be received well. I don't want to deal with that. But I find that as I've slowly worked on that and started to express that more, wow, like it's like why was I bottling up or afraid to show this? Like it's one of the most like wonderful things to put out, you know. But just like really telling yourself that like, hey man, it's okay, you know what I mean, and you don't have to go balls to the walls, you know what I mean, an extreme, right, with emotional expression. It's like you can start small and slowly work your way up, but give yourself the opportunity to experience those emotions, whatever they are, wherever they are in that spectrum, right? Because yeah man, it is truly magical when you're able to do it.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. It really is. And I love what you said there about love, you know, and I
Mm,
think that really is something that we, especially from men, we don't see enough of in the world, of like the feeling of just joy and bliss and love and celebration of life.
mhm, mhm,
It's like the stoic man is supposed to be just like, no, like we're just, life is hard and struggle and
mhm,
embrace the struggle because that's where we're forged. And
mhm,
yes, there are, you know, aspects that are useful with that,
mhm,
and to be able to like really express when you're experiencing love and joy and connection. And then also the other end of the spectrum, where a lot of guys, you know, for me that was one of the most powerful emotions, was shame. You know, having
mhm,
shame in my body, especially around addictions. And I remember the first time that shame of, you know, saying I was going to do something, and then the next day would come, and I would be like hungover from the night before and feeling awful, and I'd have all this shame of like, oh, I can't go and look at these people when I'm in this condition, so I would
mhm,
cancel my plans a lot. And and I remember canceling them this one time, and this person reaching back out to me and saying like, you know, you can come here when you're struggling too, and like, I want to give you love in that part of you. You don't always have to just come when you're feeling good.
mhm,
And
mhm.
that was so scary. But like I did it, and I went, and I showed up, and in that tender place of like, oh wait, I'm not going to be rejected if I'm here. And
Mhm.
to feel that, to feel like, yes, all of you is welcome and loved, and you're not that different from anyone. And it's like, oh, all of a sudden that weight that I was carrying just like dissolved because it wasn't true. And we've
Yeah,
seen that time and time again in the grounded man with guys coming as well, right?
that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is man, you walk into that room and it is a full spectrum of emotions, and it's funny because depending on the time of the year or where guys are in their life, like I don't think we've ever walked in there where somebody is in the same emotional state, right? Like everyone is all over the place, but it doesn't matter whether you're high or low, you're in between or wherever, right? Like it's received. And that's the beauty of our space is it creates a safe environment for those emotions to be released. And you know what I mean? Like it just gives you time to challenge those subconscious beliefs that you've developed around those specific emotions and really break habits and you know what I mean, things that you don't want to have in place that you can challenge it and ultimately lead it to and become the man that you want to become and not just you know what I mean whatever stories were created in your head. So yeah, it's magic, man.
Really is. And that piece as well of like there's such diversity, and I think that's a, or something that I hear a lot from men when I speak about men's work or the grounded man, that, oh, you need to be in like a crisis situation. You know, you have to be like going through a divorce, or like your life feels like it's falling apart, or you're in this terrible place, and then you come to place like therapy or men's work, or, and it's not true. And we're seeing that, you know, we have guys who have been with us for 2 years, a year, multiple, you know, months, some of the newer guys. And it's not just for the crisis. Yeah, maybe that's what brings some guys in. But now we have guys that have been growing together like through the cycles of life,
Mhm,
and and we're just thriving together as well. You know, it's not
mhm.
just about the suffering. It's like, yeah, we're celebrating joy, and I love how celebration has become part of our culture because of that, because we're not just here when we're struggling.
Yeah, and I think there's a piece there too with the men that show up, especially the ones that have been there for a long time. Sometimes I find that you know the way we look at some of the guys in our group, it's almost like oh, like they're living this great life, and here I am, especially for some of the newer guys, like here I am coming in, and like how do I achieve the state that he has or whatever. But what I find truly like powerful with guys that stay for a long time, you see them do the ups and the downs, and I find especially like when you can see the extremes, it just shows like they're another human being, you know, and
Mhm.
they're going to experience things all around, and it's like it's okay to share you know, whether you're here or there. Like it doesn't matter where you are in life, just come in and be present because there's magic wherever you are, right? And the cool thing too is like you could be somebody that everyone looks at and goes, wow, this guy, like, look at how he's doing. And then he comes in this vulnerable space and it's like, I can actually give back something to him, you know? Like I've been receiving so much, like now I can give back. So it's just this beautiful give take balance that we create. Yeah, man. No, it's it's good. It's good.
And I
Yeah.
think, to speak to that, like, what do you feel the development is with guys as they grow in that space? Because, what I see is at first guys are lost in their emotions. They're either pushing them away totally, or when they do come in, they get they become that emotion. They are
Mm,
the anger, they are the sadness or the guilt or the shame. Like they become that, and it pulls them away from the rest of life. But there's this piece of being able to kind of separate ourselves from our
mm,
experience that's what I think I try to communicate and lead in this space is like, hey, we want to sit in that space of awareness and not, become our experience all the time. And we
mm,
choose when we want to become it. And that's what I see guys over time, that it's like, it's the time to come back to baseline starts to lessen a little, it's like the swings between the ups and the downs don't feel as
yeah.
extreme anymore.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it a little, was it 2 or 3 circles ago, is the baselines, right? And it's very easy to recognize when the ups and the downs, right? And they almost seem to consume you, right? And a lot of us don't have even a sense of where baseline is, you know? So we operate out of these states and then they essentially become normalized for us because that's what we know in the moment now. And it's that recognition that there is a state that you can achieve, right? That is your state, right? But without a recognition of it, and it comes to that awareness piece, right? Is if you allow, for example, right, if you allow anger to consume you, you're going to operate out of anger. And that's it. That's all you're going to see is anger and everything that fuels and justifies. Like your brain is just going to look for justification for that emotion,
Yeah.
right? And the same can be true if you operate on higher frequency emotions, right? And so, but it's, you know what I mean? Like, where are you, right? I think it's the question that a lot of men don't ask is like, where do I want to be, right? Do I want to be angry all the time? Maybe not,
Yeah.
right? But it's actually stepping back and realizing like, hey, that's me, that's my state, that's what I'm feeling, and then from there processing that, right? So that's kind of how I look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. And yeah, there's the piece around, you know, we can bypass emotions by being like, oh, okay, I'm not actually gonna feel this. Oh, I notice it, but I'm just gonna choose to change my state and move to the frequency of joy. And
Mm,
it's like, okay, that's great as a tool because throughout my day, I don't want to necessarily stop and have like 30 minutes of feeling rage in my body because like
mm,
I'm trying to get shit done. So yeah,
mm,
I might stop for a second, do some jumping, take like 15 deep breaths, hold my breath, and
mm,
then boom, I'm like, all right, I'm good. I don't need
mm,
to feel that right now. Can come back to focus. But at some point that week or that day, I'm going to create space to be like, hey, let's pull this out. For me, it's a every morning, like with my journal, that's my space to
mm,
bring out my emotion and my expression. And sometimes it comes off the page and becomes more embodied and movement.
mm,
But that's my time to like clear out my channel, because I don't want to do it through the day. Whereas it can be risky when we just have the tools to change the state, but we don't create that space to actually feel the dense emotions that we keep moving
mm,
away from.
mm. Yeah, and it probably has to do with like a lot of us are so go 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 in life, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny how, you know what I mean, so many things that have how can I put this? Like, if you can see the results of the thing that you are doing, you know what I mean? It's a lot easier to prioritize it. And when it's internal work, right? It's hard to see it. It doesn't just. It's not like oh, I'll move this over there. Cool, it's moved. You know what I mean? There, I can physically see that that thing is there, right?
Yeah.
It's with internal work, like it's very important that it's progressive and it won't show itself to you necessarily in a day, in a moment, right? But it's that practice of taking time to assess that I think a lot of us overlook because, once again, how do I show that I've done something in this? It's
Mhm.
only when you look back, over months, years, you go, oh, look at that change,
Yeah.
But I think that check-in practice is so important. And whether that's journaling or whatever, I mean, for myself, it's a practice before I go to bed. And it's the practice in the morning. So I check in, how am I feeling coming into this day? And then how am I feeling when I'm coming out of this day? What came up for me, right? And then if there is bigger emotions, right, then it's that time to sit and process what came up, right? But for your practice outside of journaling, do you do anything else or?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the tools that share with guys, as
Mhm,
far as like bringing it to a more embodied space, and for me, that is something that really works well for me. So that's like,
mhm,
using breath, sound, movement,
mhm,
dance is something that is great for me. Bringing it
mhm.
to a workout. I did a workout
Yeah.
this morning, and it's like, okay, I've been doing this finisher lately, and that
Mhm,
finisher is like 6 minutes where I bring my rage to that. I'm like,
mhm,
okay, all the shit that I've been upset about this week, all that stuff that, like, whoa, like if I can cultivate that fire inside of me and then boom, hit that as fast as I
mhm.
can, that's where that energy moves through me and feels like a very safe way to bring it out rather than yelling at someone about why I'm unhappy. It's like, oh, I'm gonna take it out on the ski erg machine and the rower.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I literally, I've started doing the same practice over the last month and a half. As I, it's funny how I've gravitated my training towards like CrossFit and stuff, but because it's so cardio intensive, and I'm not a fan of cardio outside of like sports. So I've just channeled, like I set it up. It's Friday afternoons. It's after my work is done. All the frustration of, you know what I mean, the week, all the little to-dos. That's exactly what I do, man. I take it out on this like 10 to 30 minute, depending on which cycle I do. And what's sick, and this is, I find this is like the benefit of our 6 pillars, is even though I'm focusing on one of the pillars, like I've been blasting the time every single time I do it, which blows my mind because I remember how like out of breath and dead I was the week before. I'm like, man, I beat that, right? So it's just like it's such a nice way to like turn exactly that, right? That anger and all of those emotions into something that actually can benefit you across more than one way. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like what you said about, it's kind of something that we see in hindsight because literally this
Mm,
weekend, I mean, you talked about it there in the workouts. That's a
mm,
small example, and I think we
yeah,
both have seen that, like, oh,
yeah,
we're getting better here, and that's more of a physical piece.
yeah.
But on the emotional side, for me, I just got back from facilitating at the Toronto Tantra Festival this weekend, and this is the second year. So last year I was there, and noticing myself, how I interact with people, how I feel looking at people in the eyes and
Mhm,
connecting and in my workshop outside of that, but the whole experience, it's like, whoa, I can really see the difference in myself, and it's being reflected back to me by the people who, some people haven't seen me in a year, and so they can
mhm,
really see that shift. Like physically
mhm,
lost a bunch of weight, but emotionally I feel a little more grounded, a little more confident in myself, able to bring out my playfulness and my joy with a little more ease. And it feels like,
mhm.
oh, cool. This is a good reflection time to see how much I've grown in this way in 1 year. And that's exactly what you were pointing to. And that's kind of how we see this over time, is not such like obvious ways of growth, but yeah, that little feedback we get from the world around us.
Well, my birthday practice,
Yeah.
right? Where I do a video to my future self, right? A year from now.
Yeah.
That practice is so revealing to me. And once again, physical, you'll notice, right? But it's the emotional side, the mental side, the internal stuff, that the way I present myself to myself. And then because I do a little check in on that call as well, right? So it's really just me talking to future self, but checking in, and this is where I'm at. And even the way like I find that I talk, it's like, oh, nice. And it's crazy because I think today, and I'm like, a year from now, what will Vlad look like?
Yeah.
And it's hard to you know what I mean? Like I can put all these things into place, I can think of all these improvements, but I actually don't know what that's going to look like internally. It's only once I do like check-ins like this, right, where I look back and I go, wow, like the
Mm.
growth, you know what I mean? But what does that growth look like? You won't know until you know what I mean. You look back. So yeah, that's a good practice that I mean I tell everyone about it, but make a video for yourself a year from now. You know what I mean, and just check in with you and see where you're at, and you can. It's a nice way to see the progress and growth.
Yeah, I love that practice.
Mhm.
And yeah, as you say that too, it's um yeah, giving that opportunity to see yourself in that way. And it really, what we're talking about feels like it's self-love. You know,
Mm-hmm.
as you shared that, I'm like, "Oh, you're just loving yourself more." You know,
Mm-hmm.
you even, like, congratulate yourself on, like, "Nice, I like the way you're
Yeah.
speaking and your energy," and, like, "Wow, you look good," and feeling that love, not in a way that's conceited and wrapped up in like, oh, I am the superior and the best. It's like, no, I'm just genuinely like in love with the being that I am and learning to like love myself more and more and give that love more and more. And that, if that's emotional health to me, I mean, like that's a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful definition.
Yep. Yep. And honestly, I'm all smiles because everything you're saying, I'm just thinking back and it's like, that's exactly it, man. You know what I mean? Like that's because for me, like love was like that was the emotion I struggled with. Right. And I think back to where I was, 3, 4 years ago, like that was tough for me. And like to see myself now, and I'm just like oozing, you know what I mean? Love. It's beautiful. And what I'm really excited about is like, this is where I'm at today. Where
Yeah.
could I be a year from now if I continue down this path and doing this kind of a practice, right? So yeah, it's just I don't know, I'm all smiles again because now I'm thinking, woo, where could we be, right? But it's like it is exciting and I think it's an important practice for men, right? To just like really check in with yourself, assess, and see, you know what I mean? And there's just so much gold there. Like it's literally on board. It's all there, right? You just gotta go looking for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something we often bring that vision into the grounded man, is like, again, the guys that are starting to be there for longer term. It's like, yeah, it's cool to see the growth in 1 to 2 years, but like, let's imagine 10 years from now, if there's a
Mhm.
core community of men that are doing this kind of work, that are gathering like once a week for 10 years, like there's just so much potential in something like that. And that's what this community is all about, is bringing that potential, realizing the potential that men have to really lead and show up for themselves and for their families and communities and make
Yeah.
this world a better place, man, because it needs more love for sure.
100%. 100%. Yeah, but well, I guess as we kind of wrap it up here for today, I'm just thinking so 2 weeks from now, Soulcraft.
Yeah.
So our second Soulcraft, full week of just men, nature, and the world. Um, I don't know. I'm pretty excited about it. I know you're the mastermind behind it. Anything you want to share on that?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, so we did actually, the first one was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We did a weekend, and then we did it again last year where I brought Julian in, and kind of shifted it up a little bit. And then we found the place, we found the home for this with Steve there, Ranger
Mhm.
Steve at Le Terrain. And this year we expanded from just 4 days to a full week. And like you say, I mean, last year was literally one of the most incredible experiences I've had at a retreat. Hosting, experiencing, like it
Mhm.
doesn't matter. And the energy that I've been pouring in with Julian, and we brought on Barat now. It's just been amazing over the last, especially as, yeah, we're 2 weeks away. So
Mhm.
this is really building up time. We've still got a few spots for
Mhm.
camping available. So if there's anyone who ends up hearing this and has some interest to really come on this journey of, the story that we've created this time is around the death and rebirth of the masculine. And so, yeah, we're really going on like an archetypal journey supported by exercises, plant medicines, animal medicines, to to help us go through this death and rebirth process, which is going to, help uh, bring more of that self-love that we've been talking about for guys. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so excited for this. You'll be there. It's a group of some men that I deeply, deeply love, and then a bunch of guys that I've never met before, and I'm excited to deeply love as well before long.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be exciting. It was powerful. Last year, it's only grown since last year. So I mean, I expect it to be even better. And I mean, honestly, cheers to hopefully many more years of this kind of magical work for men in our community. But I guess we'll leave it there, Braden. Appreciate you taking the time, man. Appreciate the chat as always. And I guess we'll see everybody. I guess maybe in 3 weeks with the Soulcraft there, but we'll see you on the flip side of that adventure. So appreciate it.
So thanks so much. Thanks
All right.
everyone for tuning in.